We are now nearly halfway through the Let Us Worship Part 2 course. I'm so glad you're continuing your study. This is Lesson 4. Again, I'm Pastor Peter, and welcome back. Think about this. How do we know how to lead a worship service? Where do the instructions come from? And what are the steps to prepare for a worship service? Let's get started to find out the answers. Tell leaders come from all over the world, different countries, different cultures and customs. So it's not surprising that people may have very different ideas about what a worship service should include or not include. Some Christian leaders may feel the worship service should be a very formal atmosphere with formal attire, a designated seating arrangement held in a very special church building. Others may feel church should be a time to support members, like a support group, with an informal atmosphere. Members come as they are, jeans or shorts, and sit wherever they please. Neither of these scenarios is wrong. However, there are some biblical truths to apply for all styles of Christian worship. Number one, we are in the presence of God, who gave His Son to save a sinful world. Number two, we are God's children, saved by grace through faith. Number three, we are forgiven through the perfect and holy life of Jesus, His death on the cross and His resurrection. Our sinful nature still clings to us, but true worship is based on what Jesus has done for us, not what we can do for Him. Through Christ, our Christian worship is acceptable to God. We come to worship in order to receive from God, to hear God speak to us through His Word and sacraments. We respond to God with our thanks, praise, and prayers. In worship, we teach and encourage our brothers and sisters in Christ. Let's learn more about worship from 1 Corinthians chapter 14. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all the congregations of the Lord's people. But everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. Lutheran Christian worship most often makes use of a liturgy. The word liturgy comes from the two Greek words meaning people and work. Liturgy is a standard order of worship that provides a pattern of worship with a clear structure. For as long as believers have gathered together, they have included specific elements in a gathering to worship of God. Using a liturgy does not necessarily make your worship service formal. The liturgy is a way to make sure important elements of a worship service are always included. The way we worship today is the same as the way early Christians worshiped in the past. The liturgy keeps our focus on the words and actions of Jesus. The liturgy reminds us of the main teachings of Jesus, titled the Ordinary, Every Sunday Liturgy. And the liturgy reminds us of Jesus' life and events, titled the Proper, Every Year Liturgy. The Ordinary Liturgy is a set of special songs that are repeated in most Sunday worship services. These repeated songs express the principal truths of Christianity. We will look at these beautiful songs in future lessons. The proper liturgy includes the hymns, psalms, and prayers, and lessons that support the emphasis of the gospel readings for a particular Sunday. So, the elements of the proper liturgy change each week with the changing themes of each worship service. The proper, which suggests a theme for a particular Sunday of the year, is set to the unique calendar called the Christian Church Year. The Christian Church Year is used by many, but not all Christian churches. The calendar of Bible readings begins in late November or early December and provides church leaders with a history of Jesus' ministry and mission each year. By using the Christian Church Year calendar, we celebrate special times of Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, Lent, Holy Week, Easter, Ascension, and Pentecost in our worship services. Leaders of Christian churches are free to follow the Christian church year calendar, but they are not required to do so. As part of the Let Us Worship course, we are sharing these concepts because many Christian leaders have found them useful for Christ-centered worship over the centuries. While all of this may be starting to sound complicated and confusing, keep in mind that leaders can simply provide a very simple worship service focused on the Word for their groups. Over time, leaders can add elements to the suggested common liturgy as they feel comfortable. As always, trained instructors are always available to help organize a worship service. As a review, the Lutheran liturgical worship recognizes three major components. 1. An order of worship based on certain elements from historic Christian rites. 2. The use of a church year calendar. And 3. The administration of the sacraments. In the next lesson, we will study some of the elements found in the order of worship which can be traced all the way back to Old and New Testament times that Christians have used for centuries. We'll learn why these elements are so exciting. So, I hope you join me again. Now, please continue with section 2 of the lesson. I'm Pastor Peter, and thank you for joining me. May God bless your continued study in your live online class.